friends. Welcome, welcome. Um, I want to just kick off a little tiny conversation with the term the monkey mind. So, monkey mind is more from the meditation background, but the idea that our thoughts are always churning, always going, the mind's always moving. It's just a little chattering monkey. And what I love is just when we start to engage any type of mindfulness, primarily the one I think of is the breath, right? You start to give that little monkey just a job that's like, just pay attention to the breath. And it's not that the monkey stops, shuts up, anything like that, but it's just that you give it this focus and you allow it to start to relax out a little bit, just to melt out a little bit. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through the practice today of just giving that monkey mind just that job, just focus on this breathing, focus on these inhales, focus on these exhales. Find a cross-legged position, or if there is another pose that would feel comfortable to you to start out with, or if you'd like to use any type of prop for that cross-legged position. If you have not yet, scooch to the front edge of those sit bones. And then take a nice lift up through your spine, roll the shoulder heads out, and just let the shoulder heads relax down away from the ears on the back. Release the weight of the arms, close the eyes. What's interesting is I think sometimes right when we stop physically moving, it can be a time that you're like, oh, there's that monkey mind. You can start to notice the activity of the mind. So let's give it that job. Take a big exhale all the way down to empty. Start to inhale for 1, 2, 3, and then hold. Breathe in for another 1, 2, 3, and hold. And then top your breath all the way up. 1, 2, 3, relax. Hold on to your full breath. And then exhale nice and slow. Bring it down to empty. Let's do that again, but on the inhale now intentionally breathe into the low belly for 1, 2, 3, and hold. Move it up into your mid-torso, 1, 2, 3, and hold. And now get all the way up into the chest, all the way up into the shoulders. Hold on to this full breath and relax. And then sip in a little more air. And now ride that exhale out down to empty. Just move into your ujjayi breathing when you're ready. So start that process of controlling the inhale through your nose. Like you're sipping the air in through a straw. Big diaphragm breath from the bottom to the top. And then taking that big inhale, and on the exhale, out the nose like you're fogging up a mirror, using those throat muscles just to slowly release the air all the way back down to empty. And then let this breath be your guide, like we're talking about, right? Be the focus inside of that activity in the mind. And then just take what works for me and leave the rest behind. With your eyes remaining closed, begin simple inhales where you sweep your arms out wide and tall. And exhales where you pull your palms together and just draw your hands down into your heart center in front of your chest. And so you're just linking up simple movement with that breathing. We'll meet up with the hands down at the heart center, and whenever your hands make it to your heart center, bring your eyes open, casually lean back on your hands, extend your legs out in front of you. If you're on a prop, bring yourself off the prop, give a nice roll out through those ankles, pump through the knees. And then leaving that left leg out in front of you, grab onto your right leg and just gently cradle your right leg to your body. Try to pull the spine up nice and tall as you're pulling that leg in. And we'll plant right foot outside of your left thigh. Left leg stays extended, or bend the knee so the heel's to the outside of your body. We're creating a seated twist over to the right side of the room. So you could wrap your left arm outside of the right leg or elbow outside of the knee. Right hand is behind you. Take an inhale to reach up nice and tall, open through the chest. When the exhale comes, just twist from center and take your gaze back over your shoulder. Eyes can stay open or closed as we take a few rounds of breath here. Inhale is creating that space that you release into on the exhales. Stay right where you're at, or there's the opportunity to tilt your left ear out towards your left shoulder, really lengthening the right side of your neck. And then you can experiment with the chin coming up or the chin coming forward and down while you're holding the head on the tilt. We'll take an inhale just to bring the head upright. The gaze is over to the right. And on the exhale, twist from center. Take the gaze one more time back to the back of the room. And then come back forward. Release those legs out in front. And then leaving this time that right leg extended. Grab onto your left leg and just give that cradle into your body. See if you can stay with the breath while we're transitioning here. And again, bring that spine up nice and tall while you're bringing your leg in. When you're ready, start to set your twist up so your foot's to the outside of your right thigh, right leg extending or bending the knee, heel to the outside of that left sit bone. As you start to kind of open yourself over to the left, you're wrapping the right arm on the outside of the leg or dropping the elbow outside, left hand's back behind, that big inhale, open through the chest. And on the exhale, just twist from center and the gaze is back across the left shoulder this time. And focus in on that breathing. This breathing technique, the Ujjayi breath, has that unmistakable sound to it, that ocean wave sound, that hollow wind sound, that quiet whisper. It's an entirely other thing you get to focus on and pay attention to, just the sound you're creating. You stay right where you're at, or start to reach that right ear forward and tilt towards the right shoulder, lengthening out the left side of your neck. Maybe chin pulls a little bit up in space, you got the front edge of the neck, or chin comes a little forward and down, getting more into the back edge of the neck. And then on your next inhale, lengthen up through the spine, gaze is to the left. Use that exhale just to twist the deepest point, so gaze is back over that shoulder. And then as we come out of this twist, you can just take your legs back in space and start to work forward into a tabletop. Find your cat and cow from your tabletop. So working between that bow in the spine, dropping the belly, lifting the tailbone, lifting the chest. And then that arch in your back, that cat, letting the mid-back pull up in space as you drop the tailbone, release the head down. Maybe you're rocking slowly forward and backwards inside of those. Or maybe there's moments that you're pushing the hips or the shoulders out to the left or to the right. Keep working cat and cow. If you want to switch to warming up wrists, hands, even into the forearms, we can turn the insides of the wrists forward, thumbs to the sides of the room, fingers back, and then slowly lean back in space, peeling your hands off the mat to your fingers, and then slowly roll back into the mat until the heel of your palm presses down to the ground. You could also just do little side to side, back and forth, or circle movements with your palms down into the ground. And then to switch that up, you can take the back of your hands down into the ground, fingers pointing to the back of the room, thumbs to the inside. Just give a light rock and press, little massage. All roads will meet back in child's pose. So tops of the feet to the ground, big toes together, knees out wide, sit bones to your heels. You could take any little rolls through your wrists that you want to give in that child's pose before you just settle down into it. Give your forehead just a little massage. You could let your head tilt to the left or your head tilt to the right. Awesome, friends. Just pull on up out of that child's pose. Take your plank. Start to dial in that internal rotation of your biceps in, holding tight, unlocking the elbows, finding that length through your low back. Stay right here or just find a push-up, so down to Chaturanga Dandasana, hinging forward, lowering halfway, lifting back up into that plank, and then shifting to down dog, reaching the hips back up nice and tall in space. Your feet might come in a little bit closer as you work into this A-frame and start to warm it up, start to walk out your down dog, letting one heel pull down to the floor at a time, or whatever manner you like to warm your down dog up in. We got some nice warm up through those hands and through those wrists, so it's spread out into the circle of your palms, out into your fingers. The weight of the head just relax. Feel the strength of your arms, that little rotate in. Feel the hips getting lifted back up in space, using those core muscles to draw back up, and then feel those heels drawing down back behind you. Awesome, Julie. Take your baby steps on the balls of the feet all the way up to a forward fold at the top of the mat. Once you arrive, an inhale brings us halfway up, lengthening through the spine, strengthening through the shoulders, through the core. Gaze down. On that exhale, refold. And then you can just take a nice vertebrae by vertebrae, slow motion, roll up to standing. Head is the last thing to come up. As the head comes up, inhaling to extend your arms wide and reach up tall. Interlace pointer fingers into a steeple. And on the exhale, let's shift the hips over to the left as you reach and extend your arms up and out to the right. Pull those biceps back to frame your ears. Relax your shoulder heads down away from the ears on the back. Inhale, back up in space, and just bring the hands to your heart center on the exhale. So take the left foot into the center of your mat. Cross the right foot in front of the left to the outside of the left. Your left foot is the base here, and inhale reaches your arms up into mountain, and on the exhale, hinge out from the hips, swan dive down into your forward fold. We can add some bend to the knees here. Inhale, half lift. You can just press to that front shin, maybe even the thigh. Exhale to refold, and then walk the hands over to the right side of the mat. You can even have a block over there on level 1, 2, or 3. But we're really looking for the left hand to get down off the right side of the mat. And then you can feel this press down through the left leg. The hip lifting slightly up to the top corner of the left wall. And then that reach from your left arm down to the right. So just that side body stretch. Weight of the head can relax out in this one. It can be a little bit more of that forward fold on the side. Awesome, Kelsey. Last couple rounds of breath. And then we'll walk back to center. And as you uncross that right leg, just reach it back up in space. Find that standing splits, which is just the one-legged standing forward fold. Press into your fingertips, maybe your fists, maybe your palms, like you were going to do a handstand on the fingertips, fists, or palms. So feel that upper body strength down into the mat, down into the ground. Relax the weight of your head. And then lift back up through that right leg. We're almost there, guys. You're doing great. Next exhale, just let the right foot step up and meet the left. Inhale, halfway up. Big lengthen through the spine. Strengthen around it. On that exhale, refold. Relax the head, vertebrae by vertebrae. Move on up to standing. Inhale, reaches the arms tall, interlace the pointer fingers into that steeple. And then on the exhale, you're going to shift the hips over to the right as you take those fingers and reach all the way to the top corner of that left wall. Rather than thinking about your arms pulling out of your shoulder sockets as you're extending your fingertips, think about that your arms are plugging back into your shoulder sockets. That's those shoulder heads kind of getting to move down away from the ears. Biceps pulling back to frame the ears. And then on an inhale, we're coming back up tall in space, hands to the heart on that exhale. This time, we'll step the right foot into the center of the mat. Left foot crosses to the front and outside of that right leg. Right foot is the base. Inhale to extend and reach up tall in space. Breathe in. And then on the exhale, hinge out from the hips and control your swan dive down into your forward fold. You can inhale to your half lift, press into your front shin or thigh. Exhale to refold. And then this time we're walking the hands over to the left. So you could have that block that's over there on 1, 2, or 3 that you're having the hands down into. In particular, it's the right hand on this one, because as you're pressing into that right foot, you're feeling the hip reach up to the top corner of the right wall, that big stretch on the outside of the right leg. And then from your right hip down through your side body, down through your right hand on the left. Weight of the head can relax out here. Find that breathing. Awesome, friends. Just get down to the end of that exhale and then start to walk your hands back to center. As you uncross the left from over the right, you're coming right into the standing splits. And then feeling that press through your fingertips, through your palms, through your fists, as if you're going to take the weight of your body up onto your hands. And then I like to think, right, as you're doing that press and then you're lifting that left leg back up in space, it's that combination that's extending your leg back up away from your body. Remember, weight of the head is still relaxed in that forward fold position. Right on. Let's release that foot down into the ground. Inhale from that forward fold halfway up. And then plant the hands and move back into your plank position. You can go right to down dog or exhale to your chaturanga dandasana halfway down. Get onto the tops of the feet and inhale up dog. That could be replaced with low cobra. And then we shift back into our downward facing dog. Draw your right leg back up nice and tall in space. Breathe into that three-legged down dog. Press back up through your heel. Point the front of your right hip bone down and back in space as you extend and press it back and up. And then on an exhale now, just open the hip and bend the knee. Drape your toes down over to the left so your heel comes towards your sit bones as you lift your knee up and the inside of your hip opens more to the right. Watch that your back left heel isn't twisting to the side in space, it's straight back. And watch that your left shoulder is not dipping too much down to the left. Keep it strong on the right. Awesome, Jordan. On your next exhale, friends, just bring your foot up in between your hands. Find that low lunge position. Get a nice long stance and then rise up into your high crescent lunge. So as you reach those fingertips tall, and then you pull those biceps back to frame your ears, let those arms plug down in. Feel that back heel off the ground. Feel those thighs pulling in towards one another. That press down through your legs, that right glute pulling back and up, core nice and strong. And feeling all that stability and strength below you. And then to turn the heat up a little bit on this, we're going to go into beggar's bowl. So the spine stays straight up in space, arms reach forward, but then the back knee hovers off the ground. So we drop even lower into this. Watch that your spine's not coming too far forward. You can keep it right up nice and tall in space. You can even imagine if you were lifting a bowl that had some weight to it, that you could bring those shoulders a little bit back in for that upper spine so you're not caving inwards around it. Right on, Jen. Okay, inhale to rise up into a one-legged mountain. So bring the arms and the left knee up nice and tall in space. Feel that connection down into the corners of your right foot. Down into your big right toes, you extend the fingers up. We're going to move into flying chair. So breathe in, and on your exhale, your left foot comes down. Your arms fly back, and then you're lifting your heels off the ground. You can have feet at hip bone distance, or you can bring those big toes, ankle bone, knee, thighs, all to press right in at center. Let the hips draw back in space. As the arms reach back, bend your elbows just a little bit so the triceps lift up a little bit, and then tone those shoulder blades in. All right, so right heel to the ground. Inhale, arms and left knee up, one-legged mountain. Maybe extend your left foot forward, like you're lifting up through your thigh, pressing out through it. And then we're going to move into a flying lunge. So breathe in here, and on your exhale, take the ball of the left foot back, and then we're just flying those arms back in space, and there's a diagonal line from your back heel all the way through your spine. Reminds me a little bit of like a speed skater, but a lot of those similar dynamics with that flying chair. So we're going to do that one more time. So inhale to rise up, one-legged mountain. Breathe in. And on an exhale, find that flying chair, left foot down, arms back. Inhale, rise up, one-legged mountain. You can extend that left leg forward. Exhale to your flying lunge. Beautiful, friends. Low lunge when you're ready, hands down to frame the right foot. Step back to your plank. Bring your forearms down to the mat. Get onto the outside of that left foot, roll onto that left forearm for side plank Vashisthasana. Right hand to your hip or extending that right arm tall up in space. Let those hips drop away from the ground. Nice, Deb. Breathe into it and then come back to your forearm plank. Get onto the bellies of your forearms. Open through your palms. Find the shape number 11 and then walk it into dolphin. So let the toes step up towards your elbows. Lift your hips back up away in space. The head is relaxed and looking back behind you. So it's off the ground, not because you're lifting it, but because the sternum is pulling back up to the thighs. Right leg pulls up, three-legged dolphin. Just like that three-legged down dog, press back up through your heel. Let the front of your right hip bone point down and back. Awesome, Sonny. Bring that foot down when you're ready, friends. Full dolphin. Walks us back. We find our forearm plank. One at a time, the hands lift up into the top of your plank position. A breath at the top and a slow lower down to the belly. Locust pose. We can start to lift those legs up off the ground. Hips need to comfortably press to the ground. And then arms fly back. Similar dynamics with those arms like flying chair and like that flying lunge. Okay, take the back of your right forearm, press it to the small of the back, cross your ankles, and reach your left arm forward like you're going to shake somebody's hand. Feel that press into the ground and that lift up. We'll swim this back, so left hand now behind the small of the back, into the small of the back. Cross your ankles the other way, right arm forward. And our sequence ends laying out at the beach. So relax the weight of the head and the arms as it feels good to you. Weight of those legs can be heavy, or you can bend your knees, bringing your feet up, and just slowly circle out your ankles. Make some nice movements for the low back, for the knees. It's always nice when we're like this with the belly down to the ground and breathing, just to feel the rise and fall of the breath against the mat, against the floor. Take a couple more rounds of breath. And then to get to our downward facing dog, we can either do so through a plank or through a tabletop. So you can take a push up off the ground to that plank or just lift up to your tabletop. Bring your hips back up nice and tall in space. Find that engagement, that strength, and that length. Inhale the left leg back up, three-legged down dog. Okay, so feel that press from your hands coming all the way back up through your heel. Front of your left hip bone pointing down and back. And then on an exhale, open the hip and bend the knee. Drape the toes down over to the right so that heel is coming in towards your sit bones. Knees lifting up. You're opening the inside of your hip towards the left side of the room. Okay, on an exhale, find that low lunge position. Get a nice long low lunge. Walk that foot up between your hands and then rise up into your high crescent lunge. Create that strength and stability in your legs. all the way up through your core, all the way up through your chest. And as we extend those arms up nice and tall in space, just feel them plugging back into the torso. Beautiful breathing. Okay, so turn it up, right? Start to hover that back right knee. Extend those arms forward for that beggar's bowl, but keep nice and strong in your upper body. Nice pressing. Keep those thighs pulling in, stabilizing and toning. Beautiful breathing. On an inhale, rise up to that one-legged mountain. Bring your arms and your right knee with you. And then find that spot that you can focus your gaze on. Feel spread out into that left foot, rooted through your big left toe. Breathe here in that flying chair on the exhale. So again, you can have things at hip bone distance or bring the big toes, ankle bones, knees, thighs all in. Sit bones reach back in space. Chest lifting up. Maybe that little bend through your elbows as fingers draw back. So left heel down to the ground, inhale arms and right knee up in space, and then maybe this time extend your right foot forward from center, like you're pushing it forward in space. So try to avoid leaning back. Try to feel nice and strong here, and then you're lifting through the thigh and pressing forward. On an exhale, you're flying lunge, friends, so reach that leg back, your arms go back, and we've got that diagonal line this time from the spine all the way down through the back of the leg. Nice, Seisho. So we're going to take that all one more time. Inhale, one-legged mountain. Exhales to our flying chair. Right foot meets the left. Inhale, one-legged mountain. Exhale, flying lunge. Awesome. Take that low lunge when you're set up and ready for it. Step the left foot back to meet your right. Bring your forearms down to the ground. And then Vashisthasana side plank, your right forearm is your base. So roll onto the outside edge of that right foot. You can stack the left over the right or put the left in front of the right. Pull those hips, draw away from the ground. Right on, Preston. Breathe into it, friends. On the exhale, turn back into your forearm plank. Get the bellies of the forearms to the ground, spread through your hands. You're the shape number 11, everything's at shoulder's distance, and then walk it up into your dolphin. Toes up towards your elbows, sternum lifts back up towards your thighs. A lot of shoulder strength going on in our dolphin. Left leg is ready. If you want to pull it up, take that left leg to your three-legged dolphin. Pressing back and up through your heel. Yeah, Michael. And then when you're ready, left foot comes down to meet your right. You're in full dolphin. Walk back into your forearm plank. One at a time, press your hands to the ground at the top of your plank. Slow motion exhale all the way down to your belly. Get the hips ready to press into the ground. Right arm goes forward. Bend the right knee towards the sit bone. Left hand for the top of the foot by way of the inside arch. And then we're coming back up into this bound locust. Right arm extended, left leg back, and then we're bound with the left hand and that right foot. Alternative, just go back to where we were. Cross your ankles, left hand small of the back, right arm forward. Breathe into it. On an exhale, just come back down to the ground. We're going to switch things out, so take your left arm forward. Bend that left knee, heel to sit bone. Right hand back for the top of the foot by way of the inside arch. Lift the thighs, lift the chest, fly that right leg back, fly left arm forward. Again, you can always go back to having the right forearm to the small of your back as left arm is forward. Stay with that breath. And then we've got another layout at the beach sesh. So relax down into the ground. Arms, head, chin, wherever it feels best to you. Feel the rise and fall of the breath. While we're here, slide those elbows in, get to your forearms, and just find a nice Sphinx lift. Sort of stretch out through that low back. We could twist the gaze, if you like, in Sphinx, just over the right shoulder, getting a little twist in the neck. And then you can just balance that out and twist over to the left. As you come to center, leave the head upright, or maybe you're letting the weight of the head come down as you lift up to the shoulders. You can lower to the ground, just take a lift into your tabletop. Bring your legs forward. And then grab your hamstrings as you come onto the back and take your gaze forward in space. So low back pressed, head and shoulders lifted. Release the hold on the hamstrings. Just extend those arms forward in space. And then start to twist forward through your right arm and then through your left, just balancing between the left and the right. You can always take two behind the base of the skull. If your neck feels like it needs support here, no problem. And then we're just going to hold the arms straight up, or again, maybe a hand or two is back behind the base of the skull. Feel that flexion through the core muscles here. Press down into the hips, into the low back, into the mid back. Lift up through head and shoulders. Keep breathing. Bring those arms back forward and just find a little bit more forward and left movement. Again, maybe a hand back behind the base of the skull for a little support for the neck. We'll meet in Supta Baddha Konasana, our reclined bound angle, reclined cobbler's pose. Bottoms of the feet together, knees out wide. Relaxing the weight of the arms and the head. Big, deep breathing. Interlacing the hands behind the base of the skull. Lift the head and shoulders off the ground, and then find a leg lift. So the feet are together, legs are together, but legs are extended on a diagonal from the body. Low back is plugged to the ground. And then we're going to take these slow motion scissor openings, these scissor kicks. So one leg is straight up, and then one leg is down onto the diagonal. Hold the leg lift. Feel that low back rooted to the ground. Keep that breath moving and back into just a little more of that scissor kick movement. Stay strong with that low back pressing down into your mat. Grab the hamstrings, come up onto the sit bones. Take the bottoms of the feet together, scooch onto the front edge of those sit bones. And then when you're set, a big inhale to lift up for our Baddha Konasana, and on the exhale, hinge out from the hips. You can walk the hands further down to the feet, to the toes, or to the mat. Let the weight of the knees just relax open, or you can give a little bit of a press with the elbows, or just the weight of the elbows themselves. Feel that coming forward and out, and then that folding of your chest further down towards your feet. And just allowing that breath to guide you into the deeper parts of this. Start to lift back up through the spine. And then float the feet off the ground. You can pull back against the hamstrings as you lengthen the spine and tone those shoulder blades in towards one another. Cross through your ankles, and then you're going to slow motion row to the right and row to the left in space, twisting through your torso, trying to keep those legs and feet nice and stable in front of you. As we hold our Navasana, our boat pose, we can uncross the ankles. Hands could return to the hamstrings or stay open, knees bent, or we can lengthen those legs out in front of us. Lift up through the feet. Don't sacrifice the length in the legs for the length in your spine. Keep that length in your spine first and foremost, and then create that length out from the legs from there. Recross through the ankles, and then just a little bit more rowing to the right and rowing to the left. Friends, out of this working boat pose, cross through your ankles and come back forward into your down dog. Relax the head, stretch up through the spine. On an inhale, just reach and extend that right leg up nice and tall in space. Breathe in. As you exhale, open the hip and bend the knee. You stay right here, or for Wild Thing, pivot with your left hand, flip the dog. As you flip the dog, your right heel lands underneath your right knee like bridge. And then you can keep your left leg like side plank or bring it in like bridge. Right arm is flying to the front of the room, left hand is that base. Gaze can turn up, hips are lifting. We can turn back into our three-legged down dog. Bring that right leg up nice and tall. And then step up into our low lunge. Warrior one, so knife edge of the left foot to the ground. You might open your heels up a little bit wider, and then you might bring the angle of that back foot a little more forward. We're going to use that warrior one shape to extend the arms up and breathe in, and then drop the hands behind us for humble warrior on the exhale. Bind at the knuckles, inhale to reach down as your chest lifts up, shoulders are together, and then you can just bow forward. Right shoulder hovered above the right thigh, resting on it or on the inside of the right thigh. Weight of the head relaxed. And those knuckles reaching to the sky, towards the sky, and just that nice opening that we get through the shoulders here. On an inhale, rise back up into that warrior one. And then for our warrior three, we can shift onto the ball of that left foot, and we can start to bring our hands down to the mat. If you'd like to use a block for that warrior three, you can take the block out in front of you for the left hand on level 1, 2, or 3. And where we can start is bringing your right hand to your right thigh, and then lifting that left leg back up, pressing it behind you to a half. Bring both hands pressing into the right thigh. You're flexing through that left foot. Toes are slightly down to the ground, front of your hips pointing down. You could leave left hand in and extend right arm forward. That's the next great step. And that's similar to what we were doing on our belly in that bound locust pose. And then last, if you'd like, you can reach your left arm forward as well, or hands to your heart, or fly the arms back behind you in space. You can always try one of those variations on, and then come back to something that you felt was working better, or move on to something different. We're on the last couple rounds of breath. You guys are doing awesome. And then just find a nice soft landing into a low lunge position. You can walk the right foot over the left side of the mat. Let the right knee come to the right side of the mat. You could take this pigeon on your back as well in reclined pigeon. On your hands for a moment, you could slide that left leg back. Right foot, you can have the top of it or the side of it down to the ground. And then just taking that lower down onto your forearms. Letting your head relax to your block, your hands, or into the mat. Finding that deep, deep breathing. In that pigeon, you can think about the top of your left leg shining down to the ground, pulling gently to the ground. Your right sit bone could even be pulling a little bit back and to the right. Give that press into your hands, that lift up through your chest. Tuck through those left toes and just take your right leg back up and give that pigeon. Our full down dog, you can stay there, or if you want to take a flow of vinyasa, you can move into your high plank to low plank, upward facing dog into your down dog. And then on an inhale, friends, left leg is pulling back and up in space to a three-legged down dog. Open the hip and bend the knee. Can stay here, or for Wild Thing, you're pivoting with that right hand, flipping the dog. Left heel lands underneath the knee like bridge. Right leg stays like side plank, or right heel underneath the knee like bridge as well. Then reaching that left arm forward, gaze is up, rooted nice and strong into your right hand. Feel that lift up through your hips as you're pressing down into those legs. Find the support below you. Turn back to that three-legged down dog when you're ready. Breathe into it, and then find that low lunge. For your warrior one, as you get the knife edge of your right foot to the ground, your heels can stay on a balance beam, or you can pick your heels wide to railroad tracks. Your right foot could point to the right side of the room, or maybe a little bit angled forward in space. Arms get up nice and tall on an inhale, and then drop the hands behind and interlace the knuckles on that exhale. Another inhale can just reach the knuckles down as your chest opens up, your shoulders squeeze together, and then you take your bow when you're ready. Humble warrior. Left shoulder hovered above the thigh, on it, to the inside of it. Head relaxed. Staying strong in those legs. Beautiful breathing. And then as we rise up out of this one, we're going to set ourselves up for that warrior three. So it could be turning onto the ball of your right foot and bringing your hands down. And then again, if you want to use that block, we could set that block up out in front of us on level 1, 2, or 3. And then any of these steps, right, any of these steps that work for you. The first one that comes for me is you got the right hand down to the block, left hand to your thigh. You're dialing in that right leg, pressing back through the heel, toes flex down, spine at that half lift position. From there, both hands can connect onto your thigh. From there, right hand stays, left arm goes forward, so opposite hand, opposite leg. Or both arms forward, hands at heart, flying arms back. Last couple rounds of breath. Beautiful, friends. Our dismount is just to that low lunge position. And then from that low lunge position, we're just walking this time, left foot over to the right, creating this half pigeon. Left knee to the left. It can feel nice to take a little time up on the hands as you just dial in your legs, the shape of it. And then you drop to your forearms whenever you're ready. And as we get into this pose where things kind of slow back down a little bit, think back to the beginning of class, right? That tool that we are giving to our mind. Start to find that lift up in that half pigeon, that press up to your hands. And then that left leg gets to reach back and up, bringing some movement into it. From this last down dog, friends, just let it come down to the knees. Drop one of your hips to the ground, swing your legs forward. And one last move on the sit bones before we take the rest of class on our back. Heels up to the top of your mat, that dorsal flexion in your feet. Walking the sit bones back a step or two, and then letting those arms pull up nice and tall. Breathing in, and on the exhale, hinging out from the hips and connecting the feet, the ankles, the mat. We can add more bend into the knees. We can take away bend into the knees here. At times, this can be more about your chest reaching forward in space versus the crown of your head. Take an inhale just to reach your arms back up tall in space. And on the exhale, we can take the hands down into the heart center, hands down into the sides of the mat, and then slide the hips up and let yourself rock all the way down onto your back. Draw your knees in and just give yourself a little rock side to side. One last back bend in bridge pose, just feet to the ground at hip bone distance. Heels stepped back in so they're underneath the knees. And then arching the hips away from the ground as you press to triceps. Shoulder blades can step in a little bit closer towards one another. Letting those hips lift up nice and tall. Weight of the head relaxed and feeling that even press into the corners of your feet. Vertebrae by vertebrae by vertebrae, roll the hips down into the ground, hook the peace sign fingers up to the big toes, and find that happy baby. Your hands could also go to the edges of your feet. Knees out nice and wide and bent so the bottoms of the feet are shining up to the sky, ankles above the knees. Keeping the low back close to the ground. And then the right leg extending out in front of us, flat to the ground. Hugging that left knee up towards the left shoulder. Deep breath in. And on an exhale, let the right hand grab your left knee and pull down over to the right so you roll onto the outside edge of your right hip. Reach your left arm out to the left and turn your gaze towards the left. Twisting from the tailbone through the crown of the head and allowing the breath just to snake its way through the spine. Bring the knees up to center, wrap your arms, give yourself a little bit of that rock. And then your left leg flat out in front of you. And then you'll take the other side of your twist, so that right knee to your chest. Left hand grabs onto the outside of the right knee, pulls down to the left. Roll onto the outside edge of your left hip. Reach and extend your right arm out to the right. Your gaze over towards the right side of the room. Letting the weight of the body just relax. Feel that breath moving through it. Out of this twist, just come onto your back. Take a final hug of your knees into your chest, a final rock out on the low back, on the hips. And then we'll move to our final resting pose, our corpse posture, Shavasana. So just laying your body flat out, letting the legs just extend and relax. The head relax, arms at your sides relaxed. And as we create this physical stillness, we invite our mind and our emotions into this place of completion. So into this place of stillness, into this deeper place of peace. Start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. You can reach your arms behind you or straight up in space and just roll out your ankles and your wrists. And then roll the weight of your body onto your side, curl up to a fetal position, and find a deep round of breath. And we'll meet in a cross-legged position or whatever pose you want to end your class with, just like we were about to do a seated meditation. So finding that root and that base from the front edge of the sit bones. Letting the spine come up tall from there, rolling the shoulder heads out, opening up through the chest. Creating that length all the way up through the back of the neck. Friends, have a beautiful rest of the night. The light in me greets the light in you. Namaste. Hardy of Mosaic Yoga.